Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, welcome to this video. And this is the first video of Exactly Like You month. And if this is the first video you've ever seen on my channel, the way I'm doing things lately is I have themed month. So we started with Djangology month, and then last month was Donnelly month. And this month is Exactly Like You. Of course, that's a great tune recorded by, for instance, Nat King Cole, Diana Krall, of course, Django a couple of times, or Django, I should say Django, not Django. Django a couple of times, and Stan Getz, Dizzy Gillespie, Oscar Peterson. And we're gonna look at some solos this month, and we're gonna look at some concepts for this tune, of course the rhythm, stuff like that. And this first video is about a Django solo. Now there's two solos by Django. One is the most famous recording from 1936, but there's a later recording from 1940, with clarinet, and that's a great solo as well. It's not as known as the first recording, but it's certainly worth to take a look at. And that is what we're going to do in this video. Of course, we're also going to look at that famous solo from 1936, but that will be the third solo of this month. This video is about the 1940s solo. Then there will be a video about a Stan Getz solo, and then we're going to go to that famous Django solo. Let's go phrase by phrase, and here's phrase number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. It's actually two phrases, two very pretty phrases. This first phrase is a pretty interesting phrase. It starts with playing a C major 7 idea. So there's that major 7, that B, and also this, it's part of the C major 7 arpeggio, followed by an idea around A minor. This is an A minor triad. And playing A minor on top of C major is something that Django really likes, to have that 6 in there. And sometimes he would even just play an A minor arpeggio. We will come back to that later in this solo. And also nowadays people like Stochelo really like that sound of that minor chord on top of the C major, and they really like to go to that 6 low on the guitar. For instance, if you have a song in, let's say, in G, then somebody like Stochelo would really like to play this kind of sound. Go to that low E string, and that's the 6 on G. It's a peculiar sound, but it is a very sweet sound, and I find it pretty interesting that Django combines here this idea of playing C major 7 and that A minor sound. Usually it's either one or the other, but here you have a phrase that uses both. And the next phrase is a really nice phrase for D7, because it ends on a 9. It's a really nice note to end on, and it really outlines D7 with this arpeggio, right? D7, 9. Also, I think that this phrase really answers the first phrase, right? You have this question and answer thing, which I think is kind of overused as a teaching concept, because there's many jazz solos that is not really a part of it, or you can see it everywhere if you just look hard enough. But in this case, I really think, yeah, this is kind of a question phrase. And this is the answer. Let's go to the next phrase. 3, 4, 1, 2. 1, 2. And yet another interesting phrase, this time for G7. The interesting thing is he starts out by playing an A flat, right, for this kind of sound. You can call that an octatonic sound. So it has both the 13 or the 6 and the flat 9. But then he switches to playing an A. And usually you do it the other way around. You start the phrase out with notes that create no tension or a little tension, like the 9 on G7. And then right before you resolve to C, you play that. And then you resolve to C. But Django does it the other way around. And I think it really works, particularly in this phrase. So this is just a nice phrase to practice as a lick in multiple keys. Really great. Let's go to the next phrase. 3, 4, 1. 3, 4, 1. Even though this phrase technically starts on G7, this phrase is just over C. And Django starts on A minor. Right? There's that A minor again. A minor, C. And just a nice ending. But notice the A minor sound on C. That is something you really should start experimenting with if you haven't done that yet. Playing the minor chord on top of the major chord. And the way to think about it is to just think about the 6 of the chord and then build a minor chord on that note. So let's say we're in the key of B flat. The 6 is a G, so you play G minor. And just a straight arpeggio, no G minor 7 or G minor at 9, just G minor. And you can play lead tone, so you could play something like that. And then just play that on top of B flat, or in the case of C, play A minor. Let's go to the next phrase. 3, 4, 1. 3, 4, 1. If you're a gypsy jazz picker, or even if you're not, this is a good picking exercise because it's 3 notes per string. So if you're a gypsy jazz picker, there's double downstrokes every 3 notes. And if you're an alternate picker, it's probably also pretty difficult. I wouldn't know because I'm not an alternate picker, but for gypsy jazz picking, it can be a little bit tricky. Now there's 2 things to know. The first thing is I start with an upstroke, so the first 6 notes I have no problem. But now, normally I would sweep, right? I would do that. But because I want to keep the movement consistent between every pattern of 3, I don't sweep. I play what I call a half rest stroke. I'm not going to explain that, but I will link a technique video in which I talk about the half rest stroke. But I make a half rest stroke before the downstroke of a new pattern of 3. So even though I can sweep there, I don't do it because I want to keep it consistent. So the trick is to have a very relaxed hand and to give an accent on the first note of the triplet. And of course make the half rest stroke note a softer note. And you will see it is pretty doable, just practice with the metronome and build it up. Nowadays this pattern on top of D7 is mostly extended to strings, so you get this. So that's also something to practice. It's the same idea, it's 3-2-1. Then on the next string it's 3-2-1 a fret lower. And then you go back on the D string to the 12th fret. Let's go to the next phrase. 3-4-1. 3-4-1. This is a nice and easy phrase for G7, or you can just play it on the 251 to C. So there's a slide written in the tab. By the way, if you want to get the tab, it's all downloadable from my Patreon. And also this video will be 2 parts, because this first part, the part that you're watching, is on YouTube. But then the second half of the solo, I will do only for my patrons at the $10 level. So if you want to get the tab, you can join my Patreon at the $5 level. And if you want to get access to the second video, it will be available for patrons at the $10 level. Now that slide, when Django makes a slide like that, it's not like this. You have to make an extra upstroke in between the 2 notes. And it's a ghost note, right? It's not really a voiced note. You could think of playing the B flat. So play this. But then don't have the string pressed all the way down for the B flat. That's the effect. That ending is a typical, I want to say gypsy jazz ending or Django ending. It's where you have a major triad, C major, and you add an F in there, and you play it down. And there's many small variations you can make with those notes. This was the first part of the walkthrough of this great Django solo. For the second part, again, you can check out my Patreon. There's a link in the description. Another thing I wanted to mention is that my book, the Van Hemert System book, has finally arrived in Europe. It's still a limited quantity, but if you are interested in buying a book, there's an email address in the description and you can contact me to buy yourself a copy. And this video will end with an ad I recorded for Instagram about the book, and you can see me demonstrating some concepts and talking about the book. If you liked the video, please give it a like, consider subscribing. I'm aiming for that 25,000 subscriber goal, and I'm slowly getting there, but I could really use your help. And hopefully I will see you in the next video. Bye. You just listened to a jazz solo on the chords of the famous tune Minor Swing. And if you are a guitar player and you ever ask the question, how does someone come up with all those notes, all those lines on a jazz chord progression, I have the answer for you, and I wrote it down in a book called The Van Hemert System. And it is a method that teaches you how to improvise just like this, without the use to study music theory, scales, modes, arpeggios. You don't even have to know all the notes on the neck. You just have to learn very convenient shapes across the guitar neck that are based on hundreds of transcriptions of jazz masters that I made throughout the years. If you are interested in learning how to improvise with such an easy method, go to djangoguitars.com and order the Van Hemert System book.